The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hey, good afternoon. This is Kevin Cottrell with RGeeks. Happy Monday to you. We're going to get started here in just a minute for the RGeeks demo and review. I'm going to spend the next hour and run through not only the front end of the website, which is the site that you see that displays listings and allows consumers to search, but spend quite a bit of time in the other aspects of the RGeeks site, the things you don't see as a prospective customer or even as a consumer. These are the lead management system, the content system, and then the rest of the infrastructure that ties it together, including the search indexable blog that allows you to offer search in addition to your blog posts. And all that's integrated into a complete system. But before I get started with that, I want to spend a few minutes running through a little bit of background, and I'm going to start with that in just a minute. But what I wanted to let you know, just from an expectation standpoint, I've done a lot of these presentations, so I do cover what most frequently are asked as far as questions, but this is your webinar to get your questions answered. So as I'm going through or at the end, in your webinar window, there is a question box there which you can actually enter a question. So if I see a question pop up and I haven't covered it but I'll probably catch it right when I'm going through that part of the website demonstration. And then in addition to that, if it's something that comes up towards the end, I will actually make sure that all questions are answered before we break off this afternoon. So I generally spend 45, 50 minutes on the demonstration. And in addition to that, I will go through and cover all of the specifics with you from the standpoint of the website, the back end, talk a little bit about our customer-only webinars, and then in addition to that, I will run through and discuss a little bit of the company history and sort of the experience I've had, because as you'll hear here in a minute when I tell my story, I was RGeeks' first commercial customer in North America when I first signed up for it. So let me start with that, a little bit of a background. When you go back 3 years ago, a little bit more than 3 years, what you saw was I would be in St. Louis, Missouri, and I was operating a custom website. It was built by a webmaster. I was a listing agent. I used to list 100 to 150 houses a year. I was a pretty high-volume listing agent, and I had a team. Now, in addition to that, I was actively involved in the online world, meaning that we had a very big internet presence. Our challenges were not unlike what you would probably see, because I know when I talk to prospective customers, these are the two areas that I had as a challenge before I found RGeeks as a customer, and then what most of our prospective customers have. I had a lot of listings. We did a lot of promotion online. We were pretty active in social media even back then. And one of our challenges was we had traffic, but nobody would sign up. In other words, our sign-up rate was minuscule. I mean, some days it was 0%. Other days it was so low that it would be embarrassing. And so we had a real challenge with that. And then in addition, I had several buyer agents on my team, and these buyer agents would convert buyers from calls, or they'd meet them at open houses, or they would acquire them from other offline locations and would look to enroll them in our website. And the number one thing I heard from them was it's difficult to nurture these leads in our system. We're having a hard time getting people to continue to use the site. And again, this was a custom site, so we didn't have a lot of on-the-fly modifications. There were a lot of things that we just had to live with because it was a slow process of getting things changed, although we tried that several times. So about 3 years ago, I was involved in a couple of top agent masterminds, and I would travel around the country at different regional meetings quarterly, and I was actually attending these masterminds. The first couple I went to, I actually asked the question about online conversion, and again, I heard almost everybody chimed in with the same problem. They had traffic, but they were not converting very well. Some people had a little bit better conversion rates, others did not. Now, in addition to that, they had the same problem with nurturing. In other words, their lead management, their contact management, CRM type of activity was not where they wanted it to be. And finally, at the third or fourth mastermind, I was on the West Coast, and I ran into a couple of agents. One was from Orange County, the other one was from Northern County in the Bay Area. And they both pointed me in the same direction. It was interesting. They had both seen some blog posts by Jeff Manson from RGeeks. He's the founder of RGeeks. And Jeff was a broker, started in California, and then eventually had relocated and moved to Hawaii, where he had a business there as well. And Jeff had been blog posting about having, and according to their words, had cracked the code on conversion and cracked the code on having the right kind of strategy for high conversion and nurturing of leads. So I tracked Jeff down, had a conversation with him. He was nice enough to show me his Hawaiian site for one of his brokerages. And I tell you what, I was excited. I was excited to the point where then Jeff dropped the bomb on me, which was, although he had been building it for 3 years prior to it, me contacting him, it wasn't ready for prime time. I was a little bit concerned that he was telling me it was going to be 6, 8, 9 months. It turned out being 9 months before I actually got the thing. But when I showed it to my webmaster, he told me 2 interesting things. The webmaster told me, if I were to even try and build something this robust with all these features for you, you're probably talking more than $100,000, which is a fraction of what Jeff and the programming team spent to build this. And it would take me way more than 6 to 9 months to build it. So I tell you that story for a couple of reasons. One, I want you to understand that from a company standpoint, the company was built on Jeff's desire to have a solution that was built by somebody who's an industry leader in the real estate industry, not a technology company looking to get into the real estate industry and sell a solution. Jeff did this because he could not find a great solution. He could not find a reliable solution. So he went and took it upon himself to spend a couple of years and hire his own programmers and build it from scratch. Very different approach. From a culture standpoint, and this is really why I'm telling you this, every one of the leadership team at RGeeks is still actively involved in real estate. You won't find that typically at other technology companies. We're very candid, we're very straightforward. You'll hear me make some statements and comments about solutions. And Jeff was that way with me when I first was interested. Even if I decided not to buy because Jeff would tell me the truth about a solution, the culture of the business is very much to be candid and truthful. We'd rather have you not be a customer now than have you sign up, get you in a contract, and then later find out that it's not the right solution for you. I mean, we're definitely not in that case. And this carries through today into webinars. And these webinars, aside from these demos that you see on the schedule, are designed around hot topics for success. It's what other companies would typically charge coaching fees for, in a group setting. And we do webinars from the standpoint of content, strategies for long-term organic success. We talk about SEO topics. We also get into webinars about lead generation. And then we also get into lead nurturing strategies, everything from scripting to strategies to using the tool to maximize your benefit of every lead that comes into your system. How do you get through that pipeline more efficiently? So with that, I want to get into now and show you the front end of the RGeeks system. I'm going to be demonstrating today on a site that I set up in Austin. Like I said before, I was from St. Louis. I moved back to Austin, where I'm from, about a year ago. My wife and I moved back here from St. Louis, where we own a large independent real estate brokerage company. On your list of sites, when you first signed up on the RGeeks website, was a site by the name of St. Louis Real Estate Today. My wife and I still own that. We still get a tremendous amount of traffic. And as I said before, everybody in leadership at RGeeks is still actively involved. I actually have 2 sites, the one I'm going to demonstrate here as well as the St. Louis site. And we now partner with a team back in St. Louis to take all of the inbound leads and buyers from that site. So let me show you how Austin's site works. It's just a very typical RGeeks site. We built it to handle any kind of inquiry that would typically come in. So I'm going to say I'm a relocating buyer from Round Rock, and I'm looking for, say, $200,000 to $300,000 house. So I can very quickly search. It's very intuitive for me to do the searching. If I click search, one of the first things you're going to see is it brought back 144 listings, and it did it lightning fast. We do that for a couple reasons. One, I wasn't asked to sign up yet because we haven't proven the validity of the website in the eyes of the buyer. Now, in addition to that, we also needed to come back quickly, and we needed to come back reliably and quickly because if you look at focus groups and studies, home buyers will often click back off of a site if it's going to be too slow. Their assumption is if it's this slow already, it's just going to be too slow to go with. The same thing with going to a private blind squeeze page where they have to register before they even know what they're going to get access to. So one of the things you'll see here is we also do not land on a interactive mapping page. We offer it. The center tab there next to the tab that's highlighted under property list is interactive map. That is available, although I would tell you our experience is, and this is almost every study about prospective home buyers validates this, that prospective home buyers want to be less than 20 properties in a tight geographical area before they look at mapping. They don't like to land on maps with 40, 50, 100, 500 homes on them. It's too confusing. They can't figure out how to narrow it down, and it's overwhelming. So we offer it. You can see it's here in the center. We also offer an easy way to refine searches. They typically won't look at detail on listings until they're less than 20 properties. So if I click Refine, it gets me into my custom mapped. This is tied right into the IDX and the website. You can see it's still set for Round Rock. It's still set for all areas. I could narrow it down by school district or any other parameters, and this is unique to each MLS. But so let's just actually figure out a quick way to narrow it. 3 bedrooms, and normally in Texas in the summer it's very hot, so I want a pool. Now if I click, I went from 144 to 11, also very fast. You pretty much do not see a difference in the page load time between 11 and 100 or 200 or 400 listings. It's very, very fast. And the way RealGeeks does that is we use a carrier-grade server setup along with a content delivery network that separates the pictures and the listing data, and we're actually housed at Rackspace. Rackspace, if you don't know the name of the carrier colocation firm, is one of the top Tier 1 providers in the world. And RealGeeks has a big contract with them that allows us to offer this kind of speed and access and reliability. So now we're at the point where we're potentially going to trigger a sign-up. You can see I revised the search. I still haven't been asked to sign up. Now, in addition to that, I very well may want to start looking at specifics on a property. So if I come down here, I can come look at any property I want on the list, and the same thing is going to happen from a trigger standpoint. So if I come down here and I look, and I'm like, okay, well, this is interesting. Maybe I'll look at Plantation Drive. I click on Plantation Drive, and one of the things you see happen is the listing detail pops up, displays for about a half a second. The page is grayed out, and over the top of it is what's called a light box. The light box is a registration page, and this is very different when you look at studies of home buyers and prospective people that would sign up on a website. This is very different in that it's not a blind squeeze page. In other words, we didn't get sent somewhere to register without providing some information. And it's a little subtle, and I'm going to go through in detail why this converts so well. One of the reasons it converts so well is we're going to provide the validity of why somebody would want to sign up, both visually and informationally. Number one, on the Lightbox itself, the number one and number two reasons that people sign up on a website are new listings and price changes. And we very clearly in bold talk about the fact that those are the two things that they're going to get. It's very clear. Under Search Smarter are a round out list of what is typically found on listings that are of interest to prospective buyers. And then in addition, and this is the not so subtle part that you wouldn't maybe necessarily think of, is when we watch people, I can actually scroll through and see, I'm going to have access to the full photo set, and I can look at larger photos. And then in addition, all of the MLS information, from the MLS number to the property description to mapping to everything about that property, all the way down through here as I scroll through here, is all available. I'm going to be able to request information or schedule a showing. I'm going to be able to do all of those things in terms of the information. You can see if I click off of that, like I did, I end up right back on the page. But assuming I want to go on and look at Plantation, what's going to happen is I have to, you see I can't get into the detail. I can click off of it and try and get there. It reverts me back to the list. So this is a configuration that will give you the highest configuration for sign up. In other words, the highest conversion rate configuration for sign up, just to clarify. Now, from the standpoint of the activity, let's talk about conversion because we're very, very fanatical about high levels of conversion for our clients. Again, you got to remember we're active in the business. I was a very busy listing agent and I had buyer agents, so you heard me say my second problem in St. Louis was conversion. Well, there's two ways you can convert, upfront or nurturing. So let's talk about upfront. There's about a 20-fold or a 20-fold difference between responding right away and responding later. A lot of times systems make you have to go through and actually work hard as an agent and create all sorts of backup systems to be able to respond quickly. RealGeeks actually handles this in an automated system that's reliable. So when I hit sign up as a prospective buyer here, I'm not going to do this in the live database, but if I were to hit sign up, I'm going to get three things that are going to happen. Number one, the lead's going to be immediately rolled in the lead manager. So in other words, the customer relationship management system, or the database. The lead manager is going to be the first place that a search is going to be saved. It's going to be immediately enrolled in the lead management system. And then number two, you're going to get notification, and you're going to get that a couple of ways. You're going to get notification as an agent for immediate follow-up via email, which can be your smartphone or any number of places. You can actually have notification go to an assistant or lead coordinator if you have one on your team. If you're an office or a broker, you can have that go to somebody who's helping you with lead distribution. This happens in an automated fashion in the RGeeks world. I'll talk to you about that in the lead manager. And then finally, in addition to email, if you wanted to, or instead of email, you can actually have it send you a text message. So we actually offer multiple ways to have notification. Our top agents, brokers, and teams will typically respond within 45 seconds to 3 minutes. And generally within the first 5 minutes or so, they've tried several times to reach the buyer. And our top converters in the country who follow what we teach on our webinars, the conversion rate's significantly higher than the average. And so I just wanted to go through that with you and show you this. And then let's talk about what happens from the standpoint, if I click out of here, what happens from the standpoint of conversion for the buyer. In other words, why do the buyers come back to a RGeeks site? Because I've actually had this conversation numerous times with agents where they sort of scratch their head and they're wondering, well, tell me why you think, I understand that the technology, I understand why the sign-up works so well, but there's lots of vendors that talk about having a sticky website that people return to all the time. So our view is, on average, and if you look at the data, it supports this, people will sign up on 4 or 5 websites. They're not going to sign up just on one. It's rare that people initially in their search will sign up on one. They usually sign up on anywhere between 4 or 5. The way they make their determination of which site is the most important to them is a combination of validity. In other words, does it have the best available information for what they're looking for in terms of purchasing, reliable information that's put up in a timely manner, and then finally, there is a big factor on usability, meaning is it easy to get into? Is it easy to access? Is it cumbersome? And I'm going to show you here in a minute how easy it is for buyers to get in. And this is a non-trivial issue. Imagine it's the weekend, and it was Sunday. I was on my iPad, sitting on the porch. I decided to start browsing for things. I found the Austin Real Estate Today site. I signed up. Now emails are coming in a couple days later, and I want to look at things. If it doesn't send me a daily email, which is what you're going to get in our system, that allows me to get back in, I might be on a different computer, right? I could be traveling now, and I'm on a laptop for work. If I have access to my email, I'm going to show you here in a second, you have immediate access to the system from a standpoint of viewing listings, and you don't have to use a cumbersome methodology of logging in. So with that, I'm going to show you a daily email now. Let's talk about from a consumer standpoint. The first thing we do, and this is helpful for you as an agent, we automatically validate the validity of the email. And what I mean by that is when they hit sign up, the system generates an autoresponder that you have complete control of as the customer as to what it contains. It will actually send them a encrypted login link for their website. They get the login link in their introductory or auto-response email, and that does a couple things. One, it provides them a placeholder for them to be able to get into the website. What I mean by that is, if you think about somebody potentially viewing websites at lunchtime at work or right after lunch or even in the middle of the day, now they have to leave for a meeting or their boss comes in and they quickly shut down their browser. They may or may not remember where they're going. So this email is a great placeholder to help them get back to that particular page again. And the emails that come in daily allow them to revisit the site and get back to the site as well. So when you look at it, here is an email with new listings, and I've got a bunch of searches set up in Austin. So you wouldn't normally see this many searches for a prospective buyer. But if you look in here, here's a couple things. I'll just kind of scroll down, and you can see here's all of my Austin. There's 19 new listings. And what I want to show you is at the end of each of these logins is an encrypted string that starts with the word login. This is unique to that buyer and unique to that search. So if I click on any one of the searches, it's going to get them instant access. You saw before we had to log in if we wanted to actually look at listings. So if I click on this one, you're going to see I'm immediately logged in. I'm now in the Kevin Cottrell test account, And a couple things are going to happen here. One, if I come in and I want to look at this Clearwater Drive in Round Rock, I can click on it. The listing display for the detail pops up like it did before. And one big difference is there's no light box. I can map this property. I can look at a street view of it. I can request information. I can add it to a favorite. You see up top here, this becomes the consumer's portal. And if you think like Amazon.com, this is how they actually begin to use their site like a portal. So let's do a couple things here. I can add it to my favorites. You can see I've got 10 up there. And if I click on it, now there's 11. If I want to view my favorites, you're going to see they're all in here. And let's say I decided this one wasn't a favorite anymore. I'm able to actually remove that. So it's a very easy system for them to navigate. In addition, I can click here, and I've got my saved search. Each one of my searches is available. I can actually modify and view any one of my searches. So from the standpoint of navigating my listings as a consumer, it's all active. You can see here anything I want to do. Like if this Clearwater property is interesting enough and I want to get more information about it, I can click here. I'm doing this because I want to show you what happens from the standpoint of a consumer requests. And we'll typically get a lot of requests like this for, tell me a little bit about the property taxes on this. If it's a condo, are there stairs in it? Or more importantly, I'm interested in this property, especially if you follow our coaching methodology. I'm interested in this property, and I'd like to actually see it tomorrow night. So we'll pretend we're a buyer like that, which is very typical. I'd like to see this home tomorrow night after 6 p.m. And it'll attach my favorites automatically. I can email myself a copy if I want. If I click send, it's going to send it. Now, if I want to navigate from one property to the next, I'm talking about ease of use and methodology for getting in and out. You can see I click here. I can get right to the next property, and I can go to the next property after that. So they're all available and easy to navigate, and they all work exactly the same way. Now, in terms of additional functionality for a prospective homebuyer, the email does the second thing in price changes. And we do something that's not very trivial that is available, and I'll click here in the Round Rock link this time. We actually know from looking at prospective homebuyer research that prospective homebuyers see the validity on a website. One of the validity items that's very high on everybody's list as a prospective homebuyer is accuracy of pricing information. And when you drill down on that, they want to see two things as a prospective homebuyer. They want to know, is the information accurate? Is the information going to tell me the length of time it's been since the price was changed? And more importantly, will it tell me how much of a price change occurred? Now, people sometimes in the real estate business will manipulate prices up or down, especially if you have new construction. One of the things you'll see is quite often there's a price change that goes up. So you can see here, this was increased by $2,100 today. In auto prospecting on MLSs, that will show back up as a price change. And if you aren't calculating what the price change was, people won't know that it was an increase. This one was $2,100 too. Somebody's changing prices on listings. This one was $1,200. This one was $10,000. This one went up by $400. You can see on this page, here's a decrease of $200. They want to see this information to see, here's a $100 decrease. And that's one of the things that when we've talked to prospective homebuyers, that they tell us again and again that this is one of the things that they find the most valuable about a RGeeks website. They want to be able to see what happened with the information. So I'm going to end with that on the sort of consumer side of things. I'll touch on a couple things here. Blog-wise, I'll click on the blog for a second. What you can see is search is built right into the blog, all the categories. So it's integrated as part of the website. So I'm going to jump over now to the lead management system. I'm going to close down a couple windows here just so that we can clean up some of my space here. I'm in the lead management system. So let's talk about if you didn't convert somebody right away, which is certainly not the majority of what you do as an agent, you now have a nurturing challenge. And we talked about this. And it's sort of like a waterfall. If your activity initially is, I need to call everybody right away, and then beyond that, I need to follow up with people over time based on my conversation with them, or need to know if I haven't talked to them, because although I tried to call in the first 24 hours, I didn't get them, so now I need to actually track them down and have a conversation with them. So the concept of a dashboard and a CRM management system is what the lead manager is actually built around. This handles everything from lead assignment to lead nurturing to all of the activity management around pipelines. And this is how you can effectively do follow-up. And the reason this is important is you will actually see that our top agents, brokers, and teams, about 7 out of 10 of their closings, in other words, for every 7 out of every 10, it comes from follow-up, not initial conversion. As much as people would like to say that there's some magic pill for, I say this when I talk to them on the phone, the reality and the truth is, and again, we talk about from a culture, we're always going to tell you the truth, the top people in the country do the best job at nurturing leads, and they know what to say, obviously, every time, but they actually do a much better job of follow-up, and they certainly do it throughout all steps of it. So on the dashboard, you've got access to all your new leads, any leads that are unassigned, new leads from today, this week, this month. And where this comes into play is if you think about being out in the field and you get text messages and emails and now you need to follow up on things, how do you do that effectively if you've got information all over the place? Some of it's in Outlook, some of it's on a different calendar. You need it all integrated into one place where you don't have to double and triple enter things. That's the number one complaint we hear from agents, teams, and brokers from other systems is, I have to export things, I have to move things around, I have to take things and enter them into my own calendar so I don't forget them. Well, the dashboard is designed to have everything in one spot. If you're in here every day, you can see you've got upcoming follow-ups in the center. I've got past due follow-ups. If you have a small team, for example, I can click on agent activity, and I can see how many leads came in today, this week, this month, in total are my database, my follow-ups. We're actually going to be expanding this to include other parameters like follow-up parameters in one of our next releases. When you look at those new incoming emails that I told you about, let's say I was out in the field, you can see this one came in 5 minutes ago. I can click here, and you're going to be able to see this is the property I was interested in. If I clicked on this link, I could see the property. This is the property I want to see after 6 o'clock. If I want to go to the lead, I click right here on our Go to the Lead, and it will take me right to the lead. So if I back up to the dashboard, what you'll see in here is I have, and then you can see right here is that email that just arrived. It's all cross-linked starting from the dashboard, and it's designed to be not more than a 1 or 2 clicks between an actionable item. So in other words, you don't have to do a lot of advanced searches. You don't have to do a lot of action plans. You don't have to do a lot of other things. You can just very efficiently go through your leads. You set a follow-up for everybody you talk to. That follow-up, if I click on it, if I want to call Dave Ramsdell on my database, 1 click, I'm in the lead. I've got all of my notes, all of my communication, all my searches, every property they've ever looked at, all of that information is available here for Dave Ramsdell. You can see it's very, very concisely done. There's a search engine. So if Dave Ramsdell called me back and said, I actually saw a property on this road, this, Sampson Street, and then you just put the word Sampson in there, it would find the property he had clicked on and looked at in the website. Very easy to use. In addition, if we just take Dave Ramsdell's lead as a example, I can actually do activity for him. In other words, I can call him, I can leave a voicemail, it could have a phone number, I can also mark that here so I don't call it again when next time I'm in here searching. I can email him, I can meet him in person, all the activities. In addition, I've got all sorts of other things I can track on him. I'll start over here on the left. Property details. This is excellent for, remember, 7 out of 10 people I'm going to get are from follow-up. And from a follow-up standpoint, what I need to do is I need to be able to follow up and have a great conversation. If Dave told me all sorts of details about the fact that his wife is interested in a house on a cul-de-sac and near a certain park, and they're interested in this particular area of Lago Vista, if I don't have all that in my notes, I just sound like every other agent. This is Kevin, I'm calling you back. I know last time I talked to you, you're looking to buy a house in Lago Vista. Are you ready to purchase? Versus the whole detail about all the notes that are in here. So that's why the property detail page is flagged in here. If you want to know sourcing, you can see exactly where they came from. This is a Google lead. It's organic. It came off of this search term, and that's how they found the site and signed up. MLS area, they can be moved between all your mapped MLS areas. This is unique to each market that we operate in, It'll be unique to your particular market. And status is from active all the way to close, time frame immediately to a year or more, urgency, hot, warm, cold. I can move them between agents on my team, and they could be a buyer or a buyer and a seller if they have a home to sell. I would tell you that one of my best sources of listing leads when we got up to volume in St. Louis was the ready early pipeline, meaning early in their buying process and a need to sell a home in order to purchase. I used to list a ton of houses every year by actually keeping track of who had homes to sell and then following up on them. So I'm going to go back to the dashboard for a second and continue on, and then obviously past due activities are here. And then I get follow-ups. Everything's available from the dashboard. Now if I click on the leads tab, one of the things you're going to see, and I'll get into and show you can actually search, is I can save my searches. In other words, I got my new leads, all my leads, who've been active today. I can actually make some new names. I want to show you on the right here under export. I'm not going to go through it just in the interest of time. I can't actually do it complete justice given the amount of time that we have to go through things today. You're going to see one click creates a file that can be put in MailChimp, Top Producer, Constant Contact, any of the systems like that. It's a very easy system to sweep your leads into if you want to do additional offline action plans and follow-ups. Leads can be reassigned. Let's say you have a buyer agent or an agent and they want to depart, go on to the other things, and you need to reassign their leads. You don't have to do it in the mail. You can actually do it in advance. So let's talk about conversion. We talked about that 45 seconds to 3 to 5 minutes. And in addition to that, we've got a general challenge. And the general challenge is if 7 out of 10 of my closings are going to come from follow-up and nurturing, how do I identify who I need to call? Because yesterday I had 5 leads. The day before I had 8. Over the weekend there were 12. And then now 2 weeks later I'm trying to figure out who did I talk to, who did I not talk to. This is usually where systems break down. In other words, they require all sorts of manual entry and identification mechanisms. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this 628 leads in this Austin pipeline that I'm demonstrating today. I'm going to go in and I'm going to identify who I could talk to. And so if you look at the drop down here, I can search by name, email, name, phone, address, status, MLS area, urgency, all the different parameters that are in the database. But in our case, if we want to find out who we need to call, let's just take last active date. In other words, who's been in the site after a certain date. And if I come over my calendar on a Monday, I might go say, who's been in since Friday? Who came in over the weekend? And I'm able to actually come in and take my 628 leads. And what I can do is I can take this down to a lower number. And this lower number is 62 leads out of the 628. So 10% of my database was in over the weekend. Now, in addition to that, I need to figure out who have I not talked to. So I can go down and pick my last communication date, and I can say before, and I can say, let's go back a week. Who have I not talked to in a week? I'll just pick a random amount. That's fairly typical of what our customers would do. And I've got 43 people to go. Now, if I do this on a daily basis, our average agent that we work with has about 15 to 18 people in a high-volume pipeline that they need to call on a daily basis. Because they're in here every day, they work the dashboard, they clear their follow-up activities, and they do this type of search, and they call people. So if I want to start calling today, this list, I can click on Crystal Smith, and most recently she was in, and you can see I've got properties she's looking at. She's looking at properties in different parts of Austin. You can see, I can see she started several months ago. She's looked at 46 properties. She's been in 14 times. And I can make my phone call to Crystal. The system tells me her email is valid. If I want to email her, I'll show you in a second how that works. But then let's say I want to schedule a follow-up. I talk to Crystal, and Crystal says, I'm not going to be ready. Can you call me in another month? We're working on credit issues. I'm just making something up here, and then I'm going to put my test notes here. And then I'll delete it afterwards just because I'm doing this in the demo database on a live thing. She says, call me in the first week of March. So I'm going to call her on March 1st. Best time to reach her is going to be after 5, she said. I'll click OK. The system is going to send me a reminder, text message, email, whatever your methodology is. You can set this and forget it. You can see it's right here. And then if I go back to the dashboard, one of the things you're going to see is it's down here on the dashboard now. So if I want to get back to Crystal's information, it's one click, I'm right back in there. is a very easy system to keep track of and not forget things. Now, in addition, I told you you could actually email Crystal in addition to setting that follow-up. So if I come in here, I can start a blank email, or I could actually come through. I've got 6 template emails. So let's say I tried to call her for the first 24 hours and I didn't get her, and I want to shoot her a quick note in addition to the voicemail I left. I can click on this, spawn the activity. It opens up my business email, whatever your default is for what you're using. It's pre-addressed to her. It's got a subject line already in it. It's got some information in it. You can type a sentence or two in addition to that, all without any cutting and pasting. So from a lead management standpoint, I can do that very, very quickly. So a second thing I want to show you in the lead manager is, in addition to follow-up, adding activities, and email, you can see every property that they view. So as you get through the nurturing process, one of the things you're able to do is solve the problem that quite frequently prospective home buyers will indicate is one of the reasons they don't find sites very easy to work with, or agents for that matter, is the ability to actually modify searches on behalf of the buyers. In other words, if I talked to Crystal and Crystal said, I'm having a hard time, I keep having to search because I'm not seeing exactly the listings I want, or I'm not getting very many listings, but then when I go in and search, I'm finding them. I mean, these are the kind of things you'll hear again and again if you're asking the right questions of buyers. So if I go in now in the upper right-hand corner here, you're going to see I'm going to click in log in as user. Well, log in as the user. I used to be in as Kevin in my test account. I'm now in as Crystal. So the bridge between the lead manager and the website is one click. I can see the search. If I want to get in and edit it, I can click under edit. I can see every favorites if she has any favorites. I can come in and fix anything. So quite often you'll see buyers will put a lot of information into their search, and it doesn't necessarily match what a prospective agent in your MLS would do for a property, and as a result they don't see anything. Or you'll actually have somebody say, I'm looking in 3 different areas, and like on the email you saw from me, as a test buyer, I had like 3 or 4 different searches. I mean, if I wanted to, I can click here to create a new search. I'm not going to do this for Crystal. I could say 200,000 to 300,000, which is her price range, and I could pick a specific area, and I could say Southwest, and she says, well, I'd really not like to have any short sales. And if I clicked on search, and it generates a quick list of 75 properties, I click save, and I could say Southwest Austin, no short sales. Tomorrow when she gets her email, she's now got a specific search that will be that. You know, your best scenario is you're talking with Crystal and you're helping her fine-tune her searches. You're adding a lot of value, and this site becomes the same way Amazon.com does it, a lot more valid and a lot more customized for what they're looking for. So I'm going to clear out of all of that and get back into the lead manager so that you can actually see some of the specific things in addition to the lead functionality. So let's now run through, so in the settings, I'm going to click on the right tab here under settings, and this is lead assignment. So we've already talked about how you would nurture leads, how you would go through and manage your lead follow-up, how you can find some leads, one way we do this. And again, I didn't do that justice because we do a weekly webinar on multiple topics for our customers. So if you do become a RealGeeks customer, you're going to get access to pre-recorded trainings, our intranet, and every week's training on a topic related to that. So in other words, we spend an hour each week on topics that I just spent 15 minutes on. So I certainly couldn't do it justice the way that you'd want me to do, like we do for our customers. Now in here we've got 5 different ways that we assign leads. Manual, which most of our customers don't use. They prefer the automation. Round robin, weighted round robin, geographical round robin, and then weighted geographical. So if your MLS supports geography, you can do that. Now the weighting for the 2 round robins is, for example, if you have junior agents, buyer agents, a rainmaker scenario, and let's say the rainmaker wants twice as many leads as the buyer agents. They can weight themselves up, so they're going to get twice as many leads as the buyer agents. Geographical, again, if your MLS supports it, you can do that, and then weighting on that is the same way as the other weighting. Now, in addition, you see up top there, if you have round robin enabled and you have at least 2 agents in round robin, you can do idle lead reassignment. If that's enabled, it's in hour increments. If somebody does not follow up on a lead, one of the things you'll see is a lead will be reassigned to another agent after that hour and it'll get reassigned again until an agent follows up on it. It's designed to actually encourage follow-up. And it's a very, very easy system to implement. Some of our customers use it. You can see it's disabled right now in this demo system that I'm using. Those templated emails that I mentioned before are here. You control the content of it. You can change them. You can test them. And we've got examples of them up on our intranet for our customers. And then general settings, you've got a response that goes out automatically whenever somebody asks for information about a property, like I did, where I said I wanted to see it tomorrow night. They could ask about taxes. You can send out your cell phone number or let them know you received it. This is your email signature that comes through automatically if you do emails. And then all those notifications, and I'm logged in as an admin, so all the stuff that I've highlighted on the bottom here is all agent related. So I have a team. I'm going to get access to all the agent information. So incoming emails, outgoing emails, all the activities. In addition, I can see when my leads are active in my database right here in the center. And then I've got new leads when they sign up. I've got daily follow-ups when leads are being reassigned. Sometimes people will enable a lead coordinator or an assistant to see all this. They can make sure things are being followed up on properly. And text messages as well as emails are here as well. So coming back to the dashboard, we spent probably about 20 minutes on something that we do hourly trainings once a week. There's a lot of information on our intranet, but there's no need, I can tell you this from personal experience, to have to do a whole lot of other customer relationship or CRM type of activities. This system does everything. If you do a lot of auto follow-ups and action plans with Top Producer or other things like MailChimp, Constant Contact, or anything like that, you're going to see that you can get them out very, very quickly like we talked about. So with that, I'm actually going to go back to the third part before we get to Q&A of the websites. And the websites are the content portion of it. And this is a non-trivial part of what we do. And again, I'm going to sign out here so I'm not signed in as Crystal anymore. And what's going to happen is you're going to get to see in the next 5 minutes something that we do hourly trainings on a weekly basis. So in addition to lead generation and strategy, we also do an hourly training from the standpoint of generation, content management. And on the content management side, we're actually talking about long-term organic strategies and ways to drive traffic to your website. So what I'm going to spend the next few minutes on is an example of how the RealGeeks sites work from a content standpoint and show you just a brief glimpse at the site administration tool. And you're able to actually do this. And this is really important for a couple of reasons. One, and I know I asked this question when I was a prospective customer, I wanted to know, coming off of a custom site, do I own the content? And the answer is you absolutely own your own content. In other words, it's your domain name, it's your content, and it's sort of like electronic farming. I can tell you that for a site like Austin that's been up for 10 months, there's, in addition to the index listings, we have a total, this includes the listings, of over 10,000 pages in the search index. You go to my St. Louis site, it's probably over 20,000. It varies depending on how many listings are active. And some of our customers have 30, 40, 50,000 pages in the search index. So one of the things you need to realize is you actually own all your own content, you own all your own information, and you control your own destiny. I mean, I can tell you that this didn't happen with my webmaster, but it certainly happened with plenty of people that I'm aware of where you get locked into these contracts and they hold you hostage. This is your own site, and you're responsible for creating unique content, but the benefit from that is you've got a site like St. Louis, we get over 500 registered buyers a month. We have close to 11,000 buyers in our database up there, and every one of them comes from organic search. That was because we built out the site in a very methodical way over several years. So if you look at it here, all this information, everything from what you link to and what your navigation buttons say, what picture appears here, all the information and whether you have videos embedded, all of my links here, all the way down to what listings are displayed down here is all controlled by you. So if I come in here and I actually look at this, if I want to do what we said before, let's go pretend like we're searching in Round Rock, and I look at the community page of Round Rock. So what happened is my on-page SEO all changed. Everything went from Round Rock Homes for Sale, Round Rock MLS listings, all that information used to say Austin. Now I'm in Round Rock, it changes. I could actually change this picture if I wanted to, and I'll show you some examples of that in just a couple minutes. And in addition, I've got local content here that is unique. You own the content, so if you decide something different with it, you can change it at any point in time. There is no ticket to actually open. There's no working with support. You control, and I'll show you in a minute how this is done. Now you also see that the links changed on the Round Rock page. I'm now displaying sub-areas of Round Rock. Remember, everything up here is Round Rock real estate search. I'm displaying Round Rock listings on the bottom here. All my on-page SEO information is about Round Rock. If I click on Terra Vista, you're going to see that it all changes to Terra Vista. And again, this could be a picture of Terra Vista. I'll show you some examples of how the pictures can be changed. We haven't done it in the phase of the content. Everything on the top of the browser window changes to Terra Vista now in Round Rock. So it's a lot of information, and these are now listings in Terra Vista, as well as the Round Rock neighborhoods. So if I go back to the home page, you can actually see how different the information is. It all changes, and I'm going to show you in a minute how that works. You can embed links. So if I want to click here on the foreclosure link, I'm actually going to see the latest foreclosures. There's 211 foreclosures in Austin. I have access to them. And I can do the same thing with short sales. If I click here, you're going to see I'm now going to see there's 80 short sales for sale in Austin. There's a lot of flexibility for what you can do with content. We've got stats and other information available. And on the bottom here, if you want to return to the Austin, Texas Real Estate Today site, you can actually see some examples of these. Here's what I would show you is you have these are examples of landing pages. Like if I look at $1 million homes for sale, this could be a landing page about $1 million homes. You can see the look and feel of the page is completely different. Every listing on here and the links change is all $1 million homes. Now if I go back to that page again on the front, you can see I've got one with homes with pools for sale in Austin. And you can see the picture change. Now it's a picture of a nice home with a pool. Every house underneath here has a pool with it. So it's a very, very customizable site. As far as points of interest and other things you can do, you'll see here that I've got relocation information in here. And again, each page you can embed forms. I've got like a relocation package request form that's available. And I show some listings here in Austin. In addition to that, I've got a different set of links in here. These are points of interest, and I'm going to use this last one to actually demonstrate what happens from the standpoint of the content system and why it's very easy to actually provide content on your site versus having to hire a programmer to do it. There's no HTML programming required. And so if I click on the Hill Country Galleria, we're going to spend the next 5 minutes or so talking about how do I build this page out. In other words, it's got a little bit of unique content. It's got a bunch of links about points of interest, and it's displaying listings. And I want to show you this because in most websites, this would require programming or opening a ticket with your development team, and you wouldn't be able to do this on your own. And so I'm going to get into the content site administration tool now. And you see on your screen now, like the dashboard for the content system. Here's the dashboard for the site administration tool. So starting at the top, before I get into the Hill Country Galleria piece, you'll see your blog. Both the home page for the blog as well as categories and posts are all available, including your commenting. You don't have to know any programming. There are no plugins. There's no work what you have to do to get things to work. It's all built out of this interface. Content pages, you can see there's both area pages and content pages, like for a point of interest, like we're going to show you for the Galleria. All my site defaults, all my navigation bars, which are the navigation links and descriptions at the top and bottom of the pages. And then my sidebars, which are a series of links, and you remember those links changed depending on whether I was looking at a regional page or a city page. In other words, when I'm in Round Rock, I see a list of subdivisions for Round Rock, and that's attached differently than the home page, which shows me just regional pages. You could have golf course communities. You could have any number of different pages, and they're very easy to build, and you're able to actually go through and see what is actually available. You do a drop-down, which I'll show you in a minute. You attach them, and you're able to do that. Now, at the bottom here, before I get into the Hill Country Galleria page, I've got my autoresponders and my daily email responder, which is what goes with the listings on a daily basis. I've got the ability here to do redirects if I have an existing site that I need to redirect my content in, and then I've got my site settings, and I apologize, it's sort of a reminder here that pops up, site settings, and then a file browser for uploading images. So let's now get into the Galleria page. And the Galleria page is a what you see is what you get editor. So if I hover over the top of this, you see the pop-up that actually showed there is the homes near the Hill Country Galleria, Austin, Texas, the domain name, and learn more about the Galleria. That's the information that's right here. So if you can fill in the blanks, you can put a page up on a RealGeeks site. The meta description, and we do training on this. Like I said, we do an hour plus training a week for our customers on different topics related to this. You're going to fill in the blank here on what you want to show up with your link on the search, and then your keywords you put in here. So if you can fill in the blanks, what you want on your URL, you enter in here. It'll actually populate here. If you want to change it, you can actually override it here. The slug is the end of the URL. So if I go to that page, you're going to see that my URL ending with Hill Country Galleria is here. So everything I need to do as far as putting this page together is just to fill in the blanks or add the information. One of the things you'll see in here is this information, including the picture and everything, is a what you see is what you get editing process. Right here is exactly the same information. If I highlight that and I shift back to this, you'll see they're identical in terms of the way they look. Now, in the RealGeeks system, one of the things you'll see is the ability to actually override the image, which I'm not going to do in this case, but I showed you examples of that one like the pool. You can actually upload it just like you upload an image like on Facebook or another social media site. I can actually attach the sidebars by picking them off of a list. So once those are built, I can just reuse them. You can see here I've got all my sidebars available, starting with the regional one in every different city or area. I could have general Austin communities. I could have golf course homes. I could have all sorts of different sidebars. Now my footer, I can actually attach that as well. Now, the way that the listings are displayed, and you can see here it says homes for sale near the Hill Country Galleria, show 10 properties below my content, and I can edit the search. It would say start search or create search if you hadn't done it, because this is an existing one. This opens up a direct link to the IDX. So in other words, what we're looking at is now starting here for homes near the Galleria and below, how do these 10 listings show up here? Well, the way they show up is you're going to pick out of your IDX fields that are available, and these are all customizable for every MLS. I'm going to pick what, in this case I pick zip codes because it's a simple search, $100,000 or higher, and I'm going to sort them by the latest. I create my search, the system goes to the IDX and says, okay, well there's plenty of properties there, there's 573 available. Remember, I'm only displaying 10 of them. I can say, yes, I want to use this search, and I can actually edit the search and work with it. Now, in addition, I actually can change the information that shows up, and I'll go scroll back to the top of this page so you can see this. This information here for my search, I could change what it says there if I wanted to. Let's say I wanted a custom phrase there. And then I could change what the parameters are. You can see this has been modified because it's $100,000 or more and it's homes only. Where that comes from is if I edit my search defaults, you can see they're in here. And if I go to $100,000 or more, I only want to show homes. I could do 3 bedrooms or with some certain areas. I click Save. And now if I save the page, in a matter of a couple minutes, I can create a customized page with listings and content. And you can see, if I go back to the relocation section of the website, we did this for hundreds of pages in Austin. What's interesting is we set up the, for example, the Hill Country Galleria page, and since November, in the last couple months, we've had 3 or 4 people sign up organically that found that page. You wouldn't think a lot of people would search for it, but the more and more of these pages you have, you eventually get to the point where you're like our St. Louis site, where collectively between what we rank for as well as the longer tail organics, the content creates a steady stream of signups for us. And obviously we do things in Austin and St. Louis like our customers do that we teach on the weekly webinars to drive additional traffic. So with that, we're down to about 5 minutes. I'm going to ask, and I see a couple questions popping up here, for any additional questions that I haven't covered, if you want to pop them in there. The first question, I always get this question, I see it's already popped up in here. If you're interested in moving forward with RealGeeks, one of the things you're going to do is I'm going to put an email out here that you can actually send an email to, And this info@hq.realgeeks.com. If you're interested in moving forward, here's the process. You're going to send an email to info@hq.realgeeks.com. We're going to send you back a billing contract and a billing sheet. It's a single document. We need 2 pages back out of it. One is your account information and your billing information. In the email, we'll describe what additional information we need. And then in addition to that, we just need the signed page from the terms and conditions sheet. Once we have that in hand, it takes us approximately 1 to 2 business days to get your site up. That development site will be up. Our average customer, and this is another question I see popping up here, will take usually about 2 weeks to get their site set up. It certainly doesn't take them very long to get the content up. And because we do trainings on a regular basis, you're never very far between the next training class on how to get things set up. And then we actually train weekly, so you're going to always be in front of new ideas on how to create a little bit more content. As you can see from the page that I just showed you, it's not a lot of work to create a page. Some of our customers just do this on a weekly basis. They'll create a couple of new pages, and they'll come in and they'll actually focus on building out new content. Now, there's another question that came up here about sizing for the system, and sizing specifically. If I have more than a few buyer agents and I add more, do I have to pay more money? There is no per seat licensing fee on the site. In other words, it doesn't matter how many people you sign up in the site. It doesn't matter how many people you have on your team, or if you're a brokerage, how many agents work in your brokerage. The pricing is always the same. It's the same pricing that I paid when I signed up 3 years ago. When I signed up in St. Louis 3 years ago, it's $150 a month and a one-time fee of $450. That's still the fee today. Now, the only thing that you want as a caveat is some MLSs charge a nominal fee for a IDX fee to brokers and agents. Like in Austin, I pay $30 a month in addition to the $150. Now, not all of them do that. You could check with your MLS to see if they're going to charge you any kind of separate fee. And the examples of the sites that you see are on the information that was actually sent to you when you first signed up. There's a question here about example pages. Because there's a question here about mortgage approval or CMA pages. If you go look at stlouisrealestatetoday.com, you'll see some examples. I'm not going to take the time to go navigate there right now, but if you go look at St. Louis Real Estate Today, you'll see examples of a lot more forms. I was a big listing agent, so I used to collect information from prospective people that have short sale listing opportunities, people that were relocating. I had a whole seller section in there from seller information. Most of those forms are still there. And then I've got a mortgage pre-approval form that's active and live there as well. From the standpoint of any additional information, there's a question here about upgrades. RealGeeks does not charge anything for upgrades. I mean, I certainly can tell you in the 3 years that I've been with them as a customer that there's a lot of upgrades. I mentioned to you in the lead manager there's some upgrades coming around tracking activity. There was never in the last 2 or 3 years that I've been with them any charge for any of the updates. They just are released, and every customer gets the benefit for it. So there's no sort of get in on the bottom end and then you got to buy a bunch of different packages. There really is one package in RealGeeks world. It's the $150 a month and the one-time fee. So with that, as we get pretty close to rounding out our hour together, I want to see if there's any other additional questions. Again, the email, if you're interested, is info@hq.realgeeks.com. If you are interested, please just request a contract set and sign-up information, and we will get back to you. If you have other additional questions, you can certainly ask those questions if you think of them afterwards, and we will get back to you and let you know. One of the other things I would mention that we'll talk about most of the time I do these demos is there is a private group for our clients on Facebook as well. There's several hundred people in that group, and we actually treat our clients like one big tribe or family, and we share our best practices. And it's something you don't see typically from technology companies where they'll have these moderated groups and they just sort of put out their announcements, almost use like a marketing channel. What you see in our group is a lot of sharing of ideas from customers, some of which have been around for a long time as compared to other customers who are brand new, and they can learn from them. And they'll point them to things on their site or things that they've learned. So with that, I'm going to make a final call for questions here. It is 2:30 Central. And if you don't have any additional questions, feel free to email that info@hq.realgeeks.com to get signed up, or if you have additional questions after we end the webinar. Fantastic. Well, thank you for your time today, and we look forward to working with you.